please. Kmart shopper food special on aisle 15.
But I got a couple people that are
too young to know what that
closer to
means.
first. Just a few.
Anybody ever shop at Kmart?
So, we don't have one anymore.
Yeah, they're gone. All right. So, big crowd tonight. We're real excited about that. We hope that you stick with it and come to all 10 sessions. If you don't know who I am, I'm Steve Thornton, the coordinator for beginning teacher support from Madera Unified. And we invited you to be here. If you have friends that wanted to be here tonight, or you think it might be good for them to be here, we'll figure it out. We have more chairs over here. We'll do whatever we need to do to communicate with y'all. This is Jenny Taylor. Jenny retired from Central Unified and wanted something else to do, so she learned, went to a seminar and got trained on a system called Time to Teach. Let me turn my phone off, guys. I'm getting emails like crazy. And so she's going to be presenting a lot of what we do tonight. We work together to put this together. We're also working with the Positive Behavioral Instructional Strategies Department at Madera Unified. We call it PBIS. I guess in other locations you're like, what the heck is that? Professional Positive Behavioral Instructional Strategies. Jenny is an expert in a system called Time to Teach, and I'm an expert in Fred Jones' Tools for Teaching. And so we mushed them together, that's a credentialing word, to come up with the best of all the worlds and to kind of put it together. I think this is our 5th year together doing this. We are recording tonight, and so I'll explain a couple of things as we go along. Jenny, why don't you go ahead and sit down for just a few minutes? She's got, she doesn't look that old, but she's got an old back.
I got an old body.
So we'll let her stand up in just a moment, but I want to give you some instructions. First, if you want the units, and a lot of you are like, yeah, that's why I'm here. I get it. We got a carrot for you. We think that this class is really going to help you. We really do. Okay? We also think you're going to have a lot of fun. It's not meant to be a lecture for 2 hours and then go home and like, oh my gosh. Because I know some of you are thinking, I'm missing Monday Night Football. Come on. I know. My game doesn't start till 7, so I'm okay.
Mine either.
We're playing the St. Louis Cardinals. So,
We can hope you lose.
right. Okay, so you want the units. I'm not going to tell you how to get the units until we get towards the end of the class. Because I love you to pieces, but I know some of you are going to drop out. I just know that because I've been doing this for so long. We know that some things are going to come up, or you're going to think this isn't for me, or you're bored, or whatever. And so we don't want you to spend money and then try to get it back, because it's kind of difficult. You know what I mean? So we'll work with the University of San Diego. It's a private university. Make sure you sign in and grab some papers. And we'll get those 4 units for you. It's $300. All right. But if you want the units, if you haven't figured it out yet, for every unit at the university requires 15 hours, right? Did you know that? So, help me out, math people. What is 15 hours times 4 units? 60 hours. How many hours have I promised that you're going to be here? 2 hours a night, 10 sessions. I need some high school algebra people here. How many hours is that? 20. Wait a minute. I just told you you needed 60. Are you following me so far? So, 20 hours is class time here. 20 hours. 20 hours is what you do in your own class. You're going to take these strategies back to your classroom. We're going to talk about 2 of them tonight. And you're going to try it out. Most of them will work. Some of them won't. And that's okay. But I'll make you a promise that if you try what we teach, 90% of your classroom management issues will go away. It's not a silver bullet. We're not going to cure every problem there is. And you're going to probably come to us in 3 weeks and say, hey, but what about, and you've got this special case, and both Jenny and I are going to go, let me research and get back to you on that. Because you're going to tell us something we've never had before. It happens every year. There are chairs over here. There's 2 right here.
Wow. One right here.
There you go. So you have to walk in front of the whole class. I know.
Yay, welcome.
All right. And then if you want the units, I told you 60 hours, 20 hours is here. 20 hours is doing it in your class like a lab. And there's going to be about 20 hours of homework. Okay? And so we're going to do a Google Classroom. Post the assignments in there, review them, get them back to you, and go from there. That adds up to 60 hours. University of San Diego has already approved that. In the past, we have to seek their approval every year, but we know that it's a formula that works, and we'll get your hours for you. Now, because you need 20 hours of in-class time, you can't miss. All right, I know stuff happens. So you can miss once, and we're going to post all of this on the video, so y'all don't talk bad about me because we're going to record it. And we'll post it in the classroom, and you can make it up that way. And all the docs we're going to, the paper that we're going to pass out or talk about or see tonight, the presentation, all of it will be in the classroom. All right, but we got to take attendance if you want the units. Now, if you're wanting to audit, that's a whole other issue. You can come and not get the units. Anybody from Child Elementary? Did they make y'all get time off? Were they allowed you to have the time off? Yes! But if you can't make it, we'll work with you, okay?
I might be a few minutes late.
That's okay. We'll work with you. And now you know that there's also parking on the other side over here in the back. I'm sorry to make you walk a little bit, but and if you have friends that can't come and want to come and they want to audit the class, they can join Google Classroom without taking the units and they can see the videos at least. But we think the #1 aspect of this class is the talking that you're going to do with each other. Okay? So that's why it's so important that you're here. The second thing is we're going to practice things in the classroom here tonight. Not so much tonight, but we will get going. And I'm going to make you do some goofy things. And you're going to find that if it works here, it'll work also in your classroom. But that opportunity to kind of work it out and make it happen is really important. So it's real important that you're here. All right, questions about the class? Yes?
Is it in the Google Classroom that we already joined?
No.
Okay. Do we have another?
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
Copyright stuff.
just like I mentioned at induction orientation for anyone that came, I had an IT problem last year. Remember I told you the story about they put it in Twitter and all of a sudden 50 people showed up in their teacher's class. We still have that problem. So I'm going to get a unified class that you have to use your district mail, and a county class that you have to use your personal Gmail. It can't be Yahoo or AOL. It has to be Gmail. Any questions about that? Can you see that?
Oh, there's the stuff.
We're not turning in anything to the right. Okay, last time I made notes and you took it from me.
You can also message. I'm usually the one that checks the classroom stuff. So if you message me, I'll get it that way. You guys see the bottom one? Yeah.
You want me to make it bigger?
Can you guys see it? Yeah. There you go. They still have good eyes.
Do you have the guest pass for the Wi-Fi?
No.
Okay.
Actually,
Some of our county people did it.
if they're going to jump on the computer.
We'll be better about it next week.
We have to, my IT department said they don't want a mass they didn't want a mass email, a Wi-Fi code. They wanted individual ones, so I'd have to give it to you individually, and I will do that. But you won't need your computer tonight. All right, let me turn it over to Jenny. Do you have the computer?
I do.
All right.
Have the power. So in your classrooms, have you ever considered how each one of these things affects your children's discipline and their learning abilities? Furniture, obviously, you know, if the kid has a crappy desk or, you know, a chair that rocks, inevitably they're going to rock that chair all class period. Which obviously interferes with any kind of learning happening. Classroom layout, we're going to talk about that today, how that drastically affects it. Colors, we're going to talk a lot about colors. Temperature, I don't know if you guys have set thermostats, but I know at the high school, if it was too hot or too cold, I heard about it. And then they became obsessed about it if I didn't fix it right away. So that can affect their attention spans, their behavior. You know, like right after lunch when they come in and they're all kind of, if it's warm in there, you're going to lose them. Acoustics, we don't really have control over that. But for example, I taught in what they called the old music room. And do you remember that? And there's no windows. And there's a dinosaur of an air conditioner up top that you had to use a broomstick to turn it on. Yeah. And when you did that, of course, the whole building shook. You thought it was going to. So you couldn't really use the air. And the kids couldn't hear me anyway. And I'm loud. So, and lighting, again. I don't know how much control you have over your lighting. But there are ways. You know, this type of lighting can set people off. For instance, if you have like a lupus or whatever, these lights can be really difficult. And for some kids, it can actually send them into a flare or any kind of thing. I didn't know that until I ended up with lupus, and I never realized how much that could have affected someone. So classroom design. With the right classroom design, it could increase your students' learning by 25%. That's a lot. And when you think about how that might affect discipline, which is of course why we're really here, right? It's amazing. And I'm telling you, when you guys do some of the stuff that we're going to talk about, you're going to find immediate changes. And it's kind of nuts how simple that is. So it enhances concentration, obviously, supports learning, inspires students, improves behavior, and better results. Who doesn't want better results? The factors that can affect the classroom, obviously the furniture, the layout, colors, temperatures, acoustics, and lighting. And I love that graphic just because it's pretty and it has lots of information on it. But, you know, we've always heard about colors, but have you ever really, you know that certain colors stimulate or calm, but have you ever thought about, what about the ones that stimulate creativity? What about the one that, there's one that actually increases appetite. We don't really want that one, but, so this is in the PowerPoint that you'll see when you look it up. And I think we actually have a copy of it as well. The first thing you got to think about is clutter. I was a clutter rat, and having been, you know, the longer you teach, the more crap you collect. And like if somebody was giving stuff away in my early years as a teacher, I got it. I didn't care what it was, I was going to get it. I had 3 overhead projectors. You guys probably don't remember those.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I had 3 and I used none of them, but I wasn't going to give them up. I had things in the back, and I tried to clean it, but I had folders from when I student taught, and the guy that I student taught for was the Xerox king, and he gave me just piles and piles and piles of things, papers. I never was that kind of a teacher, but I kept them, because by God, nobody was going to get them. And I just went through them last week and got rid of them. And I've been retired 8 years. You know, but you might need it. So clear the clutter, because there are kids that makes them anxious. You know, there are kids that, like I had severe ADD, And I would be staring at it thinking, why didn't that teacher clean her desk? I bet they're going to lose my paper. You know, different things like that. And for a kid that is anxious, that's going to be huge. And if we add to that, a lot of these kids have never been in school, right? That could be a total, it's already going to be an attention grabber. You know, your desk is going to be like, oh, the island, and they're going to think it's so great. But if you're stacked, it gives off a poor impression. And I was an English teacher. They would just pile. I'll get to them one day. And then I'd pound them all out at one time. But I was a clutter rat. My own TAs would come in and say, can we organize your desk for you? Or just tell me where everything went. No worries. And we're going to talk about colors in depth. So color affects your brain waves, your nervous system. Hormonal activity and stimulates our emotions. If you think about that, especially with a kid who is maybe mentally fragile or has learning disabilities or just a kid who can't sit still, okay? All of these things play and they don't even know it's at play. And you guys probably don't even realize it's at play. And when we talk about it today, you'll start realizing like what I thought was a pretty color may have been totally against what I wanted it to do. As humans, we react physiologically and psychologically to colors. And depending on how the brain is stimulated, it can make a student happy, angry, anxious, scared. These things all come into play. I love this chart. It has the emotional triggers of all the colors. And we're going to do something with that in a minute. But like orange is uplifting. I don't know that I would have thought that when I was teaching.
No way. It's orange uplifting.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, but it is incredibly productive since it's a giant color. Yellow, confidence. And see, I would have been, ooh, I'm not putting yellow up in my room. Ugh. Like, ugh, that's too girly for me. But when I read it and it's like confidence, I'm like, oh, how cool is that? Blue, intelligence, honesty, and you can't paint your whole room blue, just to have them be honest. Creativity, purple, and energy, red. Okay, red is a lot of things, including an appetite increaser or stimulator. I'm an English teacher and I just said that. Dear God, that's not even a word. So you'll see this again. Calming colors. What do you think are calming colors? Blue, green, soft grays, right? Purple, in some cases, yes. So here's what you're going to get right now. I barely have enough sets. But the bigger tables, like you guys, I'm going to divide it into two groups. And I don't know, I'll figure this out. I'm giving out color tiles. And they are basically the colors that were on the wheel. I want you to think with your group, in a perfect world. In a perfect world with no money constraints, no admin to complain, okay? Perfect world. What colors would you put in the different areas in your classroom? For instance, reading area, right? High school people, how many of you guys are in here? Okay. For us, it would be probably more of, maybe if you do stations. Other than that, you know, I did have a library, so I had a reading area. That might be, you know, we don't have quite as many little areas. Number one, because we're bigger. But this comes into play there too. And with the clutter, I didn't mention that these tiles became coveted parts of my classroom because the deal was I taught Avid. And the deal was if when they got to be seniors, I would pop the tile out and they could decorate it however they wanted, and then we put them back up. And when I retired, they were full. Never occurred to me, I just thought it was cool. Never occurred to me how busy that is for the child who is anxious or distracted, you know, and you would catch them staring, but it never occurred to me why that was a bad thing. So I thought I was doing something really creative. My principal hated me. He hated me. He even came up one time and my kids were outside painting their tile. And he came in and he's like, Jenny, can I talk to you for a minute? Yes, sir. He had sweat on his lip. He was so scared. And I said, well, the fire chief said it was okay. And he just walked away. He wanted to tell me it was a hazard, but. So when you're in your groups, if you have these areas, ideally we're going to have, and the other thing is your classroom can be huge in this pretend activity, okay? Which I know is not the truth for most of us. Any questions? You're going to basically decide in what areas are important and what colors you would use, and then we're gonna have you explain and defend your colors and why. Any questions? All right. Give me a second to pass these puppies out.
You're gonna put it back on the slide with the
I know,
color?
I'm like literally, we're gonna map it out.
Maybe I might have two. Let me see what happens. There's two together. I was. You look familiar.
Oh,
Here, I have two if you guys want to split up. And you guys have one.
So you guys can see over there, you're middle school, I'm elementary.
That's it. We are.
I don't have the luxury because I share a room. I can't even really move the desk or share things the way I would want to. My the one that I share with he has his own area and then I have my own area. So I really can't even.
But I think they're saying if you could, because right now with COVID,
Like in a perfect world,
here's what my room looks like, 35 little desks touching each other, almost. That's what my room looks like. So none of this will apply there either. I won't be moving furniture or anything else. Well, I thought she was going to put it back to the way the colors made. Fake this out. Yeah, and I can't remember. I said gonna write. Yeah. So did you say that like green is like calming?
Yeah. So we were supposed to go by area and say what color. Okay.
Yeah.
I can take notes if that helps.
That'd be awesome.
I don't have a reading.
okay.
So for reading, you want it to be calming, and yeah, I would think that. Greens and blues. So we were talking about reading areas. Like, we're thinking maybe greens and blues, or.
I wrote those up. Go back to the first.
There, yeah.
Now I like these beds. Now I use red. My reason is colors. I have a red and black team I don't like students like and I want to also see kind of get these in our classrooms, and I don't want to talk about
Okay, so how about we start with
the students are always like, recess yet?
right? We want reading area.
Like an hour. They do have a lot of energy and excitement. Makes sense.
So what would you think about something like purple in your reading area instead? Because it's kind of a calming thing, and it's individuality and going inside yourself, maybe, or instead of the green or the blue.
safety officer?
I want to read this research. How they prove
Would that work?
Are the wall that you're doing
Oh, I see.
So the carpet one, would that, you guys think an orange, something like that, for friendliness and optimism? I know high school doesn't have the carpet areas, but, well, we don't have carpet areas anymore either. I put it down and put my kids on the squares and the principal came in and said, nope.
They're safe. Yeah, I know. That's what we're like. I see what's not okay. Where do we want it to go?
So like the carpet.
For me, definitely. Because my kids would be oh yeah, no, for sure.
I don't know, we have arts and crafts area too, that would be purple instead of the reading area.
Little red, little purple.
Yeah. I think red should go outside. I don't think I want it in there. You guys already agree?
Yeah, same. Yeah, and I don't know.
What about a writing area? What would you guys do in high school for a writing area? For creativity? What about green? It says growth and refreshing.
That's how mine is.
And reassurance, because how hard is it to write when you don't trust yourself? But I don't know.
When you're in a carpet, you're close to all your other people.
So how are we doing? Are we keeping you busy?
Yeah.
What do you think about writing green or purple?
Actually, one of our teachers that has quit.
Purple? Okay. Purple is
Creativity?
Okay. But what were you guys saying green for?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I got that one. I got blue and green. And heard something else. Yeah, I got that. We said yellow and orange. That one, good fire
What about arts and crafts? What did we say for that?
we said red and purple to get them excited about reading and creative thinking.
I know. I have almost everything. And I started.
I'm busy reading. I'm just reading.
I started like with
Still have stations and
so one of the areas, like my writing area, I have all the colors, but then
I put multiple colors for some,
Yeah.
You guys were saying. I guess, yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be just a wall, but you can have different objects.
It's funny because I keep picturing my room and I'm like, stop that. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm like, oh, my room. Yeah, but it's so full right now. There's no home. There's no room.
We have about 5 minutes.
What's those stations? We said red and purple. Red and purple
oh, I was like, where did you come up with that name? Oh, she was.
So what do we have? Let's go over what we have.
Wow, I didn't know that was a color. Red.
Target salary variance. neck and three muscles to them. Orchid crop, rather than purple skin, don't beat it, and encourage creativity. Stay fit, not strength, all faces yellow or orange to inspire confidence. Uplift them. Manipulative, we don't have anything. And guiding area, we have purple to encourage creativity.
We just need manipulative. Manipulative's like blue. It has intelligence up there and blue and green or something like that because it says it has intelligence and growth. I mean, that's it's hard because some of them cross over. I'll be the craziest rainbow room I've ever made. Walk in and just get sick every day.
Like a shoe button color thing?
Steve. Never mind.
Kids would love it. Everything's rainbow.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I should like stop it or like
Is it upset him? I've got to go to him.
he's fine with it. But I'm not sure if that's he's just like holding it, but he really doesn't like it, just to like hope they stop. I'm not sure what to do.
Do you have a rapport with him where you can go along and talk to him and get something truthfully out of it?
I might be able to try that. That's a good idea.
So then you could do it not in front of everybody and just, I think that's a really great thing. And just don't do that.
A little less.
Some like kids will put up with stuff. You know, in first grade, always calling each other.
Because I guess the previous teacher.
Like, Miss Mom, can I call you Mr. Tattoo? No. No, you cannot. They are. And he did. And I said, I appreciate you asking me, but I don't know if you're appropriate right now. You know, if you're still in first grade in about 5 years, we'll be done with clothes.
Our writing area.
I think we got them all. I'm gonna grab a water.
This position and then the
Grab chocolate. Anybody want anything?
so it seems that they was only a temporary position.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
I'm sure you have a spokesperson.
Yeah, the camera's on
The
there.
one that's a little more.
Or you get the glue.
I know I'm working on it, and then the pay scale is so much pay scale is so
I'm thinking this is I don't know if I would even put that in my room. Maybe just in the rainbow somewhere. Yeah.
Because I can even all of that.
No. They're what? Yeah. Because this one is muted. And it's called Robot.
It's such a going to
I'm gonna have to go in and look at it and do it on you.
Oh, yeah.
Mine's all finding Nemo. So just keep swimming, that's our class.
You would just stand and share with us the thinking behind your colors. So somebody over here, there's two of you though, right?
We collab.
Yeah, okay, cool. Somebody speak.
So we chose the reading area to be green.
Okay, how come?
Because green is a very calming color.
Good.
So we figured when it's quiet time, it should be calm.
Excellent. What about others?
We chose purple because it was a creative color, and then we thought the arts and crafts would allow them to kind of enhance that, and then writing as well.
Oh, good.
You want to hear all of it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Blue for the wall they're facing, so that it can, support trustworthiness and honesty
Oh, nice.
and intelligence.
Anything else?
Yeah, and then for red, we said stations and manipulative areas.
Very nice.
Because of like getting them excited about what they're doing.
Try to what?
To get them excited about what they're doing, like they're still
Awesome. Awesome. What about over here? There's two groups, right?
We go first here.
Sure.
So we kind of used multiple different colors for our areas. So starting with the reading area, we kind of had an emphasis with blue with a little bits of yellow and green. Because our thinking was we wanted students to just be calm over there, but also wanted to stimulate their their enthusiasm, their confidence, and their like hope for growth in reading and challenging. So our carpet was the one area where we used red because we talked about carpet students are often falling asleep, wanting to take naps. We want to get a lot of energy colors in there with some red and a little bit of yellows just to get them up and at it. Our kind of arts and crafts, our station areas, and our manipulatives were all kind of the same. We were hoping to do like oranges there and a little bit of purple and green just to like stimulate that, we want them to try, we want them to be optimistic from that orange, but also be creative and, having that friendliness while we're doing it. We agreed that the wall children are facing should be blue. We wanted to like associate the words up there that are blue with the teacher, so we want the students to be trusting the teacher. We want them to know that the teacher is honest to them and kind of stimulate that back and forth. And then lastly, our writing area, very similar to our arts and crafts with purple and green, just to again get that same kind of creativity and also like, hopeful optimism in those areas.
Awesome. And I like how you thought, essentially outside of the box by combining colors. Because you can, and that would make it a lot more fun anyway. What about you guys?
For reading, we decided to go with green. Julie had mentioned that, and for class, for kids are in third grade, and mine too, in third graders, kind of scared of reading right now. And so having them stimulate with that growth and hope and the refreshing and the balance, we decided to go with the green. Arts and crafts was definitely purple. We saw creativity and individuality, and I feel like with art, students need to be very confident in what they're making and let that, parents come in, teachers come in, administration, that is theirs, and they are so proud of it. So.
Yes, excellent.
Stations, we did orange. I forget kind of why we picked that one, but I'm assuming the friendliness and the funness of stations, and you're engaging with your classmates, and you don't want to just do them individually, you want to work with your classmates, and so be positive, be encouraging, be nice, that's optimistic and uplifting. So if someone's struggling in your station and they need your help to be that uplifting student. Wall facing, definitely blue, kind of like what they said, you want to trust your teacher, you want to know that your teacher's in charge in the classroom, and while she's up there or he's up there teaching, and the intelligence, while you're at your desk, you're learning, you're your own maker right now, you're just trying to follow in your teacher's steps. And then carpet is yellow. I really think we all really like the yellow for carpet. For that, it was when we do carpet time in my classroom, we're coming together as friends. That's when we're meeting, that's when we're joining. They're allowed to talk and socialize and sit next to each other and kind of just be themselves instead of in a student, in a desk student that's focusing. So being very optimistic when we're in carpet time, knowing that we can all come together at the end of the day or the beginning of the morning and kind of checking
Positive experience all the way around.
Manipulatives, red. Having that energy to use your hands on, try to think of different ways to solve something or to do something with those manipulatives. Have that, I think action was really important. We need you playing and interacting and showing and demonstrating and talking it through. And then writing area was I personally did, I think none of us agreed on the purple and the blue and then some green for writing. Creativity is very important with your own writing,
Sure.
bringing your own, having that growth and that balance.
Excellent.
Yes,
Thank you. Table in the back.
Okay, so we also did
Green for the student facing where the teacher is.
Oh, okay.
Build that reassurance. We did yellow as well for the carpet. We think that the confidence, the optimism, that was really important since that would probably be the largest color visible, that would be a good place to put it, would be on the carpet. Arts and crafts, we did purple, stimulate creativity. Stations were orange for that optimism. Let's see, the writing area was purple to stimulate creativity. We even talked about having blue on the desk to help stimulate intelligence and serenity and help keep them focused. And red was the reading area, and I think that was so that we could stimulate their passion for reading and excitement for reading.
And see, that's why I had you guys do this, because the view for some people are going to be completely different. And like, nobody says red for that area, but you did, and you explained why. That's cool. Like, for some, it also depends on your kids. Like, you know, if they need to be inspired because they're so quiet, red would absolutely be perfect. All right. You guys were one group, right? You guys.
All right, so for reading area, we chose blue or green to encourage calmness while they're working through. But I was kind of liking their idea. I think maybe we should throw some red in there as well to encourage a balance between calm and energetic and excited about reading. For the carpet, we chose orange to encourage optimism, friendliness. We want it to be an open environment where they feel safe and excited to be there. Arts and crafts, we chose red or purple to get them excited about what they're working on. Stations, we also chose red and purple to encourage creativity and some excitement. The wall, we chose yellow or orange to promote confidence and uplift them. Manipulatives, we chose blue to encourage the development of their intellect as they're working with different things. And writing, we chose purple to encourage creativity.
You guys had very different, essentially, answers than some. I think that's really interesting. Back group?
So for our reading area, we chose blue for serenity and intelligence. Our carpet, we chose orange for friendliness and uplifting. For our arts and craft area, we chose purple for creativity. For our stations and our manipulatives, we chose red for energy and action, just keep those kids motivated. For the wall facing, we chose green for reassurance, growth, and hope to get through the lesson. And for our writing area, we chose yellow just for confidence. I know in my class, my kids are in 6th grade and they didn't write a paragraph until 2 weeks ago with me.
Yeah.
So a lot of them struggle in that area, and just doing anything we can to lift them up.
Good. And I already got you guys, right? So what are some ideas for how can you implement those other than just butcher paper or, you know, or painting the walls? Yes?
I was thinking my folders, because I have a writing folder.
Wow.
A classroom folder.
That's a great idea.
And I was starting to think, I'm like, well, my writing folder is blue just because I had extra blue ones. There wasn't any reason for it, but I would probably want it to be purple next year because of like creativity and things like that.
That's awesome.
That's what I was.
Well, over here, somebody, I think it was you guys, no, I think it was you guys, you said on their desks, blue on their desks. Most of you had name tags. You could do the name tags in blue, or whatever color you choose. Anybody else with some ideas? Yes?
Like, we use a lot of anchor charts, so if you're going to print like a writing anchor chart, print it on a color that's going to be, you know, like stimulate that creativity, purple or whatever you're wanting them to do. So if you're going to hand certain things out,
That's awesome.
it on a color.
That is awesome. Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of just for like a simple way to do it, but we use a lot of like expo markers, you know, so whatever color you're using would correlate better with what activity instead of just black for everything.
That's a whole different level to think about something. Yeah. I was lucky if I had one that worked. So I have a lot of choice. Yes, ma'am.
So you could involve the kids and like talk to them about some of this stuff. So like on Fridays we were red for like energy and like we're being excited for our team, and like my school color is also red. So maybe you ask them to all like wear red with you that day.
That's cool. That's cool.
Or like, we're working on writing today, like wear yellow if you have it, or maybe give them like a little yellow sticker, like we're
Or they'd
having
be so
confidence
into
with
that.
our writing today.
They would be so into that. Which also would turn it on, like if a kid hates writing, but you make it fun with that, you might change the way they see it. Any other comments about this? Yes, ma'am.
I use different colored sticky notes in my classrooms for different things.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So, like usually we do like yellow for something new that you learned, and green for something that was like kind of new, but like you learned more about it, and the kids will use that like as an exit ticket as they leave.
Oh, love
so
that.
maybe like linking those colors to something would be really cool.
That's a great idea too. I don't know the Madera's rules or Chachilla's rules about what you put on your walls. I know once we had the new high school at Central, we weren't supposed to put anything on the walls. Like, really? Come on. So we had to talk about like how to do that without getting in trouble. I didn't care about getting in trouble, so I just stapled away, but some people actually were worried about it. And I get it. I understand why they're trying to preserve it, but it's a classroom. So, Steve, is this where you wanted to talk about what was... That would have been the clutter.
Yeah.
Oh,
What
man.
did you do to my thing?
While he's doing that,
You timed out.
huh?
You timed out.
Sorry. His wife is the director of the
Not
preschool.
director,
Oh,
just a teacher.
she's somebody important. And she was talking about some posters that one of the classrooms she visited had in it. And it was like, what was it, the Constitution in a preschool classroom. And so she asked them, how does this apply to your students? And she didn't, of course they didn't have an answer. I mean, they're not going to be experts in the Constitution as preschoolers. But what about, like I used to have inspirational posters all the time. Well, I can justify that. I'm trying to inspire them. You want to elaborate?
Well, the idea was to ask, what purpose does this serve? Does it help me with my students? And if the answer is no, take it down. Right? And think about what it was like to be 11 years old, especially you boys. And when you were in the classroom in the 5th grade, in the 6th grade, and there was a lot of things to look at, what did you do? Heck yeah. And were you listening? It's a distraction. Now, how many of our students are diagnosed with ADHD? Literally all of them, right? Back in my day, we didn't have that diagnosis. All we had was the belt, right? And I can remember my grandmother, stop fidgeting, and she'd whack me, right? We don't do that anymore. We kind of understand that kids come in all shapes and different sizes. But think about that. How's it a distraction for your ADHD kids if there's too much stimulus in your room? So ask the question, what purpose does this serve? And if you can't answer it, get rid of it. So I had one teacher had, somebody was giving her posters that the teachers are great, teachers are awesome, teachers rock the world, and had 10 of them in her room. How many does she need? 1, maybe? Get rid of the rest. Another teacher had lesson plans dating back 3 years on their wall because they were supposed to post lesson plans. Get rid of them. What about the forms that are on your walls? Are they obsolete? Does it say 2004 when the new one came out in 2015? Get rid of it. Think about how the stuff in your room can be distracting. Now, I know I'm not supposed to be gender biased in this day and age, but I'm an old soul and an old school kind of guy, and I just kind of noticed some things. And there is a difference, really, in the way a female decorates a room and the male decorates a room. For instance, can you tell if this has been decorated by a male or a female?
Looks like a bachelor pad.
Right? When I was a teacher, I had a picture of Michael Jordan, said read a book, and I was good. That's all I had on the wall. You walk into a kindergarten room, and oh my goodness, they got the alphabet with 3 different fonts going all the way around. The number line 1 to 1,000, I'm exaggerating. They have all the seasons on the wall, football, baseball, no, winter, spring, summer, fall, right? All of that. They have all the colors. They've got it going on, and it looks amazing. Guys, if you need some help, ask for it. And I know that is totally gender biased, and I get it, because some of you guys knock it out of the park. I wasn't one of them, as you can see. So think about that. So not only can we talk about distractions in your room, but think about the other side of it. Are there things you can do that would help your students? And then when it comes to state testing, what do you have to do? You have to take it all down again. So I understand. But think about that. The best thing you can put on your walls is student work. So save space for student work. It's the best thing you can do, because kids love it when they see their stuff on the wall and you're pumping them up saying, oh yeah, this is one of my best, right? Even if you're lying. Put it up on the wall. The kids love to see it. And in parent night, that's what I did, right? I walk into a room with my child and what am I doing? I'm looking at my kids' stuff. And I see a whole bunch and I don't see my kids. I go, what happened, Ashley? Oh, I didn't do that project. Oh, well, I just made her feel bad as a parent, right? I shouldn't have done that. But think about that, okay? Go step up on the wall. That matters. Kids' work is the best. All right, that's all I have.
Since we're wrapping up the color thing, I wanted to address what you guys put up here. So, what issue is giving you the most grief? And then somebody told me that grief is probably not the right word, but more responsibilities this year in managing everything. Not only, of course, are you getting from the top more things you have to do, but on the bottom you're having to deal with these kids who may not have ever been in school. Or for the high school teachers, kids who have never been in high school, right? They're used to elementary, junior high. And with junior high kids, it just hit me. How awful. Basically, those kids have really never been in an upper level school yet. Wow, that's scary. How to make tighter lesson plans to keep kids focused. We will talk a lot about that. Lesson plans is kind of my favorite thing. And it is important. Lesson plans, are making me fog up. Lesson plans can dictate the entire behavior model in your classroom. And if you do it right, and you time it right, and the pacing's good, and you break it up, and all these other things we'll talk about, you won't have near the problems. And when I observe a lot, which by the way, I'll be coming in to talk to you guys, I don't report to any admin. It's just me and him, but he doesn't go where I go. And I just come in and watch, and if you have questions, otherwise I give you kudos on the things you're doing great. And so, that said, so many people don't have their stuff ready. And these kids, you give them 1 second to turn away, they're gonna turn away, right? So, you know, I've gone into several classrooms and said, have everything ready so that your transitions are quick and you're in control of them, not the kids. You know, time them when they go station to station. You know, try to improve on that and stuff like that. You'll find that that will eliminate a huge part of your chatting or your off-task stuff. And we don't talk about that probably till the third one, so you'll get it this month or whatever month the third one's in. Students need one-on-one. Why do you think that is? They've been... What?
For intervention.
Intervention, yeah, and these kids, they were one-on-one or one-on-zero at home. So all of a sudden they're in a group, they've never learned how to work in groups. Those are all things you're going to have to teach, which is difficult because normally you've had kids that come to you with those skills. And these kids don't. And even if they did, they've been 1.5 years out. They've forgotten. Because you know, that's a training, like repetition, make it a habit, and they lost that habit. 6th graders at 3rd and 2nd level, no respect for adults, constant talking. One of the classrooms I've already been in this year, you know, there's always that one kid that wants to get everybody else rallied, you know, started. And then when she talked to him, he was disrespectful. And my argument to that was, this poor kid is screaming for help. And I know in the scenario that you guys are dealing with right now, that's not always really easy to do that one-on-one with that kid. But the no respect is something we have to teach. You know, most of them, let's be honest, most of our kids didn't have a parent supporting them during online learning. So, and if their parent did, the kids often found out what their parents don't know. So if they're not used to having a strong figure in front of them, and you are going to be that figure, but with that, we're not going to say put the hammer on them. We're going to tell you how to get around and work with those kids. But that's a very real issue in the bullying as well. You know, the bullying and knowing that your room is a safe place. That's the first thing you have to set up. More expectations, less time. Students missing out on a lot of school time, yeah. You know, I think what hurt us the most, obviously academics, but what I think hurt us the most, is the social aspect. You know, the learning how to be friendly, learning how to listen, learning how to operate in groups, and that's where we're going backwards. Like, you guys are almost, any of you are basically kindergarten teachers right now. You've got to reteach everything. Changing from 7 to 4 through learning classroom management strategies, yeah. And one of the things about what we talk about will help you with engagement. You know, everything we say will, or everything we teach, will kind of step in and help you with engagement as well. Time management, loss of lists, paperwork. I'm guessing paperwork's pretty extensive right now. Life and work balance, we're going to talk about that. You know, how many of you take work home every night? See, I understand that you feel like you have to, but that's going to burn you out so fast. And there are ways that we can work to get that, where you get that balance. It's tough. It's tough because you're worried about not being perfect. But the reality is nobody is perfect right now. Nobody's even close to perfect. So it's a difficult thing, but don't put so much pressure on yourself. You know, a lot of you have grace for the kids. You allow them grace, but you don't allow yourself grace. And you got to remember, this is new for all of us. You know, never in our history have we had to go back to school when kids had been out of the system for 1.5 years, 2 years. So this is all new. Getting a hang of schedule, pacing lessons, that will come up. Students adjusting to being in high school. Major disruptions, blurting out, we just talked about that. Students coming in after lunch. What does that mean?
Well, the same thing, like them coming in a little bit noisy and just kind of not being focused.
Wired.
After lunch, yeah.
Wired. So there's something we'll get to that. It won't be all today, of course, but we'll get to that. And keeping kids on task, losing my voice on a weekly basis. Yeah, I lost it every year. What she said?
I wrote that.
Oh, large class of students who have never seldom been in a classroom before. How many of you teach K first or second? Your kids are probably the most, but on the other side of that, your kids are pliable. Like, you get to teach them because they don't know anything else. Whereas the older kids, they know what it's like to be in school. And now there's just a disregard for it because they don't know what it is. They don't know how to behave in that arena. Any comments about that? I also noticed that none of you were thriving over there. And some people were drowning, you know, have already drowned instead of drowning. I hope, because we'll put this up at the end of our thing, and I'd like to know that you guys have moved a little over to the right. Because, honestly, the stuff we teach works. Honestly. Steve, should we do a break?
Yes.
All right, 10 minutes.
Well, I think it's like a teacher thing too, though.
Didn't you guys take off your masks
Yeah, I did.
I will. I'll be right back. Push my chair and like I tell my kids.
The math test is like 11:40. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I got home like 5 minutes after we got home. And one of the girls goes, "You're taking on Friday?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're taking on early."
You're getting attention me. I used to already
So I was
like,
already
you're like, oh, I
And
can
then
do
I
this.
get a phone call,
Give me
and
a student teacher.
it happened 20 minutes, which the first 20 minutes they're reading. So they just missed every second. And then they went out to the next one. So I popped them out there. And they were so cute when they came back out. It's not going to be so angry. But I was like, I'm so sorry. I forgot.
Hey, you're almost done.
I know.
Steve. I'll do the arrangement and then you come in for the.
Yeah, Monday. Do you guys figure out a but 12:25? What time are you having?
Oh, big phone calls?
Yeah, minimum days fly by. Wait, what's your normal day? 7:30.
Yeah, I'm sure.
7:15. Okay.
I will remind you.
And then minimum.
Oh, yes.
But now that we're doing such
Excellent.
I mean, that was so. Yeah.
What do you do? Fourth grade, okay. I teach 7th grade medieval history.
They're knocking on our door.
I'm trying my best to keep them interested.
I taught
Great.
Okay, cool.
Well, you know, they say to do that, it's that too, right?
Oh, so for all 4 subjects?
And the other thing I was going to say,
How long have you been teaching?
you made them at the door, make them wait.
It's my first teaching, so
Quiet.
lots of learning.
And then, but I like
It's been going good so far.
I wish I'd done that at the high school.
Really? Okay.
I live in Fresno. I live in Fresno. Try to here all the time, no problem.
Gotcha. Yeah. They were the first to offer me. The admin seemed really good. I'm at Western Middle School. Carried out to everyone else is new, but they seem. Yeah, exactly. They seemed on top of things. They understand their ethics and everything. So I'm in Clovis, so it's quite a drive. But I'm going to move closer at some point in the northern Fresno.
Area, very close to the 99.
That's all they.
Or I'm closer to the east side of the area, so even something closer to farmland.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm either thinking by 41 and then taking Avenue 15 or by 99. I've been taking that right now, but if I was
I think
closer
it's
to
good
top,
calling
like
out
10
his
minutes.
family chart, because I think a lot of people could use that right.
I like that number about 99.
Yeah. The only thing I'm worried about is when it's foggy. Is this pretty bad? No? Okay.
I think I had maybe once where I was like, okay, turn all my music off, roll my windows down, and sleep a little bit. But the worst actually is when all the farmers start harvesting. They got those machines going to their desks. And you forgot to get them.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that's good to know.
But yeah, it's not too bad.
It'll always be that way.
So are there major issues out there with anything?
No.
I enjoy that drive, yeah. There's no one out there 90% of the time. Just go a little bit above the speed limit.
Exactly. Actually, one cop, maybe two, in the 2 years I didn't drive.
Yeah. I mean, there's no one else out there, so it's relatively safe. As long as you get like a on out or something kind of crowd.
We're not even going one stop sign and then stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop sign and use everything.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
It won't be every night.
serious?
Can we have penalty clearance and then all this stuff?
Oh, nice. That was brilliant. Maybe tomorrow. Oh, that is awesome. I'll share it. I think it's great.
Right. Completely redo our history curriculum. So we're doing this now, but not the book. So everything we draw during the lesson. They used to often do McGraw Hill, green. They use the blue one forever.
No,
yeah, I haven't really tried.
Yeah, I said 10.
Yeah, I've heard it's not good, so I haven't tried it.
Probably.
I put these articles in everything else.
I just tried out. Not for good things.
My husband has a meeting at 6:30, so I thought it was at 6, so I'm gonna try to figure it out.
What's that? How long is it when you get home?
Hopefully.
Well, I have to leave here, but let me see if I can work something out first. Cool.
Yeah. Supposedly it integrates with classroom, but I haven't tried it. Oh, cool. What's the yeah, I'll take any resources.
Make sure that we have time.
Okay, thanks. Sorry. I thought something was said 6. Tomorrow's 6:30, right? Or is it 6?
These are three sources. So they have one like this.
Everything. So just from here on out. Okay. Oh no, I'm sure.
Anybody in Abbott?
All right, guys. Can you have your attention, please? There's a few missing, but we gotta get rolling. Because I gotta get home and watch the Come on now. We got priorities here.
We need him to lose so the Giants can go up another game.
It's not gonna happen? All right. Let's take a look at this video. Oh, shoot.
What?
I didn't do sound.
You don't want me over there, you know what happens. So now we're going to talk about how you arrange your room. Which I know a lot of people with this whole COVID thing, it was kind of like, holy cow, how do I do this? This concept that Steve's going to talk about applies still though. Even though you have to
you know, have them 3 to 6 feet apart, whatever. It'll still work with what he's talking about.
That one is
You want, just skip it. Just skip this.
all right. Sorry, guys.
I'll make a copy of all this stuff.
All right, so there is an article that we want you to read. We give it.
Very short. It should be in our handouts, right? In your handout? No. Why don't we read it all then?
Where is it?
Did it, these last 2 all year? Oh, wow.
Oh, there it is. It's really, really short.
All right, here we go. Gotta get my FM voice. Testing, testing. When considering different ways of arranging the classroom, it is very important to consider what Jones identifies as the 3 zones of proximity. The red zone is nearest to you. Red means stop. Students in the red zone cool it. Outside the red zone is the yellow zone. Yellow signals caution. Yellow zone, students cool it as long as you are facing in their direction. But when your back is turned, the light turns green. Beyond the yellow zone lies the green zone. Green as in go. When students in the green zone look up to see that you are on the far side of the room, particularly if you are preoccupied, it's goof-off time. Teachers need to use proximity and mobility to prevent and manage inappropriate behavior. As students learn that the teacher will be monitoring their progress on a regular basis, they will be less likely to slack off. All from Tools for Teaching. All right. So here's what we're saying. This table over here is in the green zone. And this one is too. This table's in the red zone. And these 2 tables are in the yellow zone. Proximity. And the idea is you need to move. So we would love it if you had an electric device that could monitor whatever you're putting up on the board. Or if your kids are old enough, let them do it, right? Charlie, turn the page. They push the mouse. If you have a wireless mouse, if you have a pointer like we have, sometimes I've seen them integrated with iPads so they can do the slides on the iPads. But I want you to think for a moment how you feel when I move in on the table. Right? It's a little bit of intimidating, but you can manage classroom behavior simply with your physical proximity. It gives a different vibe when I stand over here, doesn't it? So even over here, we have a teacher on their phone. Now watch what happens when I come over here. Now all of a sudden your face is turning red, and she's going to put it down, but she's not going to join the classroom, so she has an excuse, right? I'm picking on you, but thank you for letting me do that. Okay, seriously, in about 8 feet circles, think about it that way, in your classroom, the farther you away from a group of students, the more likely they are to goof off. Why? Because students get paid to goof off. It's their job. In every class, in every age group. I'm going to tell you something that you should stick in your brain and remember. I'm going to say it more than once. The standards in your room are whatever you let students get away with. The standards in your room are whatever you allow the students to get away with. You may have a whole list of rules on your wall. In fact, I'd be willing to bet you have 5 or 6 rules already posted in your room, or you reviewed with your students, and it has a central theme of respect. Respect the teacher. Which means what? Don't talk back, don't get up, right? Respect each other. What does that mean? Don't goof around, don't touch each other, don't take each other's stuff. Respect the classroom. What does that mean? Don't take things that aren't yours. Don't write on the desk, right? Respect yourself. What does that mean? Be on time, be prepared, have your, right? You have 5 or 6 rules that are centered on respect. Throw them away. What you need, and we're going to talk about in a couple of sessions in great detail, are procedures. We're going to call them teach-tos. How do I get lined up? How do I stack my chairs? How do I, all kinds of things that you do, and you'll probably have 100 procedures. And we're going to talk about that over and over and over again. How important those procedures are. I was talking to my mom the other day about car keys. And I always put my car keys in the same place when I get home. Why? Because I don't want to think about it and get up the next day thinking, where are my car keys? And nothing's worse than having to get someplace in a hurry and you can't find your car keys. And then, of course, if you're a man, you blame the wife. Rihanna, where are my car keys? What did you do with my car keys? She didn't do anything with them. And she has no idea. But, of course, I'm a man, so I'm going to blame her. Put them in the same place every time. I don't have to think about it. Same thing with procedures. When you have established procedures in your classroom, you don't have to think about it, and the students don't have to think about it. All right, we're going to talk about that later, though. Tonight, we're talking about proximity and how just by moving around, you turn this into red. And they're in green, but it's going to take them a while to figure out that they're in green. And if you can cross the room in 4 or 5 steps, just like that, in a few seconds, we flip this from green to red. Even you can feel your attention picking up as I'm moving around the room. Right? And then you can catch students. Because we know that nobody looks at their crotch and laughs unless they're looking at their cell phone. Right? Okay. Proximity works. It is the first real strategy that you can use tomorrow. But your room has to be set up in a way that facilitates it. We have overcrowded this room, and yet I am still able to walk from side to side because I have a what? I have a central pathway. Okay, think about your room for a moment. How is it set up? Now, some of you may not have all of the rights to change things in the room. Maybe you're a co-lab teacher or whatever. But do the best you can and think about what does your room look like and how can it be arranged. And we did give you a packet tonight of different options. And I want you to take a look at that.
Thanks to COVID, none of these are an option right now.
At your site, no more?
We have to have them as spaced out as possible and everyone facing the same direction.
Isn't that interesting? Because that's not what CDC says.
Yeah.
CDC says that if you have a mask on, you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Well,
Right.
the amount of cases that we've been having lately.
Huh, I wonder if masks work. Oh.
Hey.
Or vaccines.
Uh-oh.
Get yourself in trouble.
All right. Yes, COVID's going to compromise that. In fact, Jenny and I brought that up this afternoon that this question was going to come up. But you can still, even if you can't do cooperative learning, have clear ingress and regress areas so that you can get to where you need to be as quickly as possible. So we have rows. What happens if a student is sitting against the back wall and they can lean their chair up against the back wall? What happens?
They're chilling.
What's that?
They're chilling. They're leaning.
They're chilling and they're not maybe paying attention. What happens to this wall?
They're leaning against it, hitting it.
And what else are they doing? Come on, they're coloring it, they're picking at it, they're tearing the wallpaper off of it. Do you want them on the back wall? 2 reasons why you don't want them on the back wall if you can avoid it. 1, they will mess with it. In every age group. K-12, I'm telling you. The second is you want to be able to walk behind a student. and maybe even sneak up on them. What are we doing here, boys? Right? Okay. And I'm going to teach you some ways later on that even the way you conduct yourself physically and the expressions that you have on your face can either cause mayhem or calm. We'll talk about that later. Right now, I just want you to think about your room arrangement. Is there anything you can do to it to create some space so you can walk it the best you can? Proximity works. Here's why. And I'm going off on a tangent now. Some of you have a strategy that's not working. It's the way you were raised. It may even be a way that some of the teachers you had in school disciplined you. It is called nagging. Brian, if I have to come over there, what is it? One more time. What's going to happen?
Lose a point, detention.
You might even kick him out of the room. That's the worst thing we can do is kick a kid out of the room. Why is taking a kid out of the room so expensive? What happens when they go to the office?
Learning loss.
Sorry?
Learning loss.
Learning loss. They are no longer being educated. Who are they sitting next to when they go to the office? All right, so they're sitting next to their buddies. And who's watching them? The administrative assistant. Does she have a teaching credential? No. Does she have time to make sure they're doing their worksheet? No. All right. Then they go to the principal, who's already ready to blow because of all the things that are going on, right? What is he going to do? Or what is she going to do?
Thank you.
Spank them?
No.
Not anymore, but back in my day that happened. That's how old I am. What happens? They get a lecture. And then what happens? They go right back to class, and if they're in junior high, nothing happened to me. Watch this, man. We're going to do it again. All right. Listen to the second thing I'm going to tell you. It is not the student's back talk that gets kids kicked out of class. It's the teacher's back talk that gets kids out of class. I'll tell you that again in another session. What happens? Brian, I am sick and tired of telling you to sit down. Well, if you teach this class the way you should, I wouldn't have to stand up. I'm so bored, I don't know what to do. Oh yeah, so then what? I get upset. Now Brian knows I'm upset. Brian's winning this game. It's called a melodrama, right? He's winning this melodrama. He's going to escalate because he doesn't want to lose face in front of his friends. And I'm going to get mad. And pretty soon there's going to be some yelling. And I'm going to kick him out. But what if Brian did something that I didn't want him to do, and I just simply moved over to his desk and didn't say a word? Brian might go, what? I wasn't doing anything. I just stand here. Does Brian know why I'm here? Heck yeah, he knows. Doesn't matter if he's kindergarten or 12th grader. They know why I'm standing here. Is it uncomfortable? Heck yeah, it's uncomfortable. He might have one more comment to say, and I don't say nothing. You like that English statement?
No. Making me cringe.
I don't say anything. Does Brian settle down? I might even give him a nonverbal cue. He knows what's going down. Pretty soon I can walk away. We're going to practice that technique. Yes?
So question, so I teach kinder. Now one of my little guys likes to just make noises all the time. Proximity does nothing to him. Telling him to stop, what would you suggest then?
I would suggest a behavior plan just for him.
Okay. I thought about it.
And we have a whole bunch of tools. I mean, I want to tell you everything.
But we'll get to it.
But we have a whole bunch of tools. One of them is a refocus area where they're not in timeout, but they give a chance to refocus. Another is some carrots and sticks that we call preferred activity time and how to earn that and some other things. And they work. But The other option is the positive behavioral instructional strategies. So, I'm sorry, tell me your name. Reed is sitting, I love how Reed is paying attention, right? So we constantly, and then we talk to your little guy, and every time they do something right, we make a humongous deal about it. And every time they're doing the other thing, we try to, as best we can, ignore it.
Okay, so ignore it.
But it's also possible to say, you know, it doesn't sound like you're ready to be in small groups right now. Let's move you over here, and when you're ready to come back, then we'll have you come back and do, but you can do this work over there. I know my wife lets preschool kids, they're criers. So it's kindergarten, first grade, okay. They're crying. Oh, honey, I'll tell you what. Let's cry over here. And when you're ready to return to the group, the rest of the group's having a blast singing the song, and she got on the board. But he's all left out. Not that you're trying to cut him out, but you know, when you're ready to join us, you may. And it works.
The other thing is, you know, obviously calling the child out is not a good idea.
Yeah.
But maybe when they're on their way out, ask if you can talk to them for a second. And maybe just, you know, obviously if a child's doing that, more times than not, there's a reason behind it.
Oh yeah, no, and I know that.
So if you take, you know, a second and like Steve was saying, a learning plan, even before it gets to that, maybe make a deal with him one-on-one and start really small. Like, you know, if you can get through the reading without me having to correct you or say your name, and I don't know, bribe him with something.
Sticker, whatever. Yeah.
And just, but make it small, because obviously a child like that isn't going to do well for an all-day goal.
Yeah.
But that way you're building that relationship and that rapport, and he's getting positive attention versus negative. Especially when you're a lower grade teacher, you have the power to do well or do damage. And if this kid starts to get pegged as a bad kid, you know, then he's ruined for the rest of his school. And if you can be that positive person that gives him that confidence and develops that relationship, he may be a pain in the rear for a little while longer, but he won't stay that way.
Got it. My wife says in preschool it takes at least 2 weeks of hard work to train the child in the way that you want him to behave in class, and then once that's mastered, then you have the rest of the school year really to work on the academics. And she says in preschool they take a whole month of August and September just on expectations. When they come to small groups, this is what we do. And if it doesn't happen, we go back to our desks and practice it again. No, let's come back to our small groups and try it again. Because we want mastery. We want 100% cooperation 100% of the time. Yes?
So, my kids were absolutely heathens the first day of school. So we did a lot of procedural work that first week. And we were getting to the point where I was feeling really good about the progress we were making. Then we've gotten a new student every single week for the last 3 weeks. And it's been not like completely new students, it's been kids that they went to school with or they were cousins with, and so it was a lot of not only disruption, but it disrupted like the entire class hierarchy, because I have a lot of very strong personalities in my class, let's put it that way. And I guess my thing is, when I do that, I have a couple of kids that will get very, very angry with me because they feel like I'm punishing the entire class by making them practice it until everyone gets it right. And I feel like I'm having to steal from Peter to pay Paul and try and keep everyone, no guys, like we do need to practice, this is important, but still keep that status quo.
I think sometimes they turn against each other too.
They will. They're like, come on, man.
Oh, I've already had half of my kids in on-campus suspension because of the bullying this year that happens at lunch recess. I had one of my girls get suspended because she decided to bring pepper spray to school.
What grade level?
6th grade. They're 11.
They're not pre-adolescents, they're pre-human. She's laughing because she knows I'm trying. Yes, and you're doing the right thing. Here's totally off the script now. One of the tendencies that we have as new teachers, I was there too, is we want to be liked by our students. I will tell you that it is more important to love your students and foster a respect. You loved your mom and dad, but there was a sense in which you were a little bit of afraid of them too. Not in a bad way, but you knew you didn't want to disappoint them. But you also respected them because you knew they could lay down a hammer if they had to. It's more important that your kids respect you than like you. And the second thing is, they're not your friends. They are not your friends. And you need to make that distinction. And I promise you this, if you go there, you'll be the most loved teacher on campus. I want you to think for a moment about your favorite teacher of all time. Think about who that is. What was your favorite teacher of all time? Did they let you goof off and squirrel around and turn in less than expected stuff? Were they the teacher that threw movies on Friday afternoon? When you did an essay and it was crap, did they call it crap? Or did they just say, oh, honey, why don't you do it over again? Did they hold you to these high expectations or let you slide? My guess and the data from the national of looking at all of our teachers are the teachers that have the highest expectations for behavior and academics are the ones that are most loved. But that love probably won't come until the fourth quarter or even next year when they figure it out. I have a sophomore in high school at home, a stepdaughter, who's going to Sherman Thomas, and they talked about how to write annotations. She goes, I had this in the 7th grade. She finally got what her 7th grade teacher was trying to do for her. He was tough and demanding and had high expectations and was teaching well beyond the curricular level. It was rigorous, and she just resented the heck out of it at the time because she had to do a lot of work. But now she's a sophomore going, oh, this is easy because Mr. Hernandez at TJ, where's my TJ teacher? Man, Mr. Hernandez at TJ taught me how to do this. High expectations. You are doing the right thing. I want to compliment you. Keep it up. Be tough. We used to tell teachers, don't smile until Christmas. We meant it. Why? You have to be the taskmaster. You have to have these high expectations for behavior. And you have to say, in our classroom, we don't do this. This is not how we behave as 6th graders in my classroom. I had boys touching each other. You know how they do, flicking each other, hitting each other. And this is back in the day when I could get away with it. I can't get away with it today, but I said, boys, if you want to touch each other, you can do that outside of my class. But in class, we don't touch. What are you talking about, Mr. T? Sophomore, juniors, and seniors, right? No, what are you talking about, right? They didn't touch each other anymore. But we had an expectation that this isn't going to happen in my class. This is not how things run. No.
Okay, you're jumping forward.
I know. I'm just like going all over the place. All right, let's get back to this. Sorry, I got on my soapbox. You're doing good. Keep it up. Think about your procrastination. Think about your classroom setup. We wanted you to draw it out tonight. So I can remember.
What?
Drawing out as homework. Drawing the room, rearranging the room.
Taking pictures.
So here's what I want you to do. In your homework tonight, that's due next week before you come back, we want you to, and it's in the classroom, both classrooms, they're all set up. We want you to take
classroom codes again, please.
Yes, please.
Because I was trying to get to it on my computer, but we don't have access to Wi-Fi for our computer.
In your stack of stuff that you picked up, the one that has this kind of a prissy little form, those are your takeaways. Like those are what we talked about, so that when you go home tonight or tomorrow and you've forgotten everything that was said in here, those should be your triggers to what we talked about.
So I want you to take 3 to 5 pictures of your classroom. And if you had all the power in the world, what would you do to rearrange it? How would you make it better? Based on what we're learning and talking about tonight. So with the colors and with approximation and with the illustrations that we gave tonight, how would you make things different?
So
do you want like in a paragraph, like how you would
Yes.
write it?
And the directions are in the classroom to write it out.
So you want me to just jump to the activity? It's 12 after.
Yeah. I think you're on.
That's all right. All right.
Code.
What you're going to do right now, I called it speed dating, but clearly you're not speed dating. I want you to find someone, it can be at your table for right now. You're going to get 2 minutes. I want you to share 3 things that you learned tonight and you can use in your classroom, and the other person's going to share. So that's 2 minutes. And then I'm going to give you 30 seconds to find a partner. So we're going to do it 3 rounds. The first round can be somebody at your table. The next round needs to be somebody else, and so on. Okay? Make it quick. Don't do too much thinking. Just grab the person next to you and just share. Are you ready? I'm not ready. Hold on. Ready? Go. What
but mostly I'm thinking about, I have 6 rows of 6 kids in there that's sorted on. You might be able to pull it out a little bit and then that can go together. And I was told that they're not meant to do that. The other thing I got was some approximation. I'm going to take a pass through there. And oh, standards in my classroom, but I looked at it and I have to remember that. Because, you know, one second I'm like, no, I got it, and then by the end of the day I'm like, I'm just beat down to the ground. So yeah. So that's my thing. So, and, you know, when we do kind of, we have been working on procedures. Once again, I have 4 kids with it, and I said, let's go line up. All right, they do it, let's go in. If they don't do it right, get that many kids out. And we did it a couple of times. 30 seconds. But, yeah, so when you send them kids inside, they go outside and line up so we can go to the you know, along the line is about 35 minutes. So the kids are
Okay, stop. You have 30 seconds to find somebody from another table. Get up and move. Get up and move.
I honestly just started talking about my classroom.
What can you take away from this class that you can do in your own classroom?
Oh, okay. Kind of just making that whole walking around thing. I do walk around, but I mostly stay up in the front. Because like I want to like announce something and then I like walk around. But probably make like more space for me to walk through. Just sometimes I'll feel like something like that. I can't go through there. Maybe space them out a little bit more. Maybe add a few more colors in there because I don't have a whole lot of colors. There's like a lot of white. That's mostly it.
I don't have a teacher, so I can't do too much.
You are?
I understand.
Good, okay.
But I guess what I do that to me was proximity.
Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of like the same thing, like having desks at a certain way where you can pass through them. So like something like this,
I'm thinking about moving it now.
that's kind of the deal that I have.
I don't have my own room. I co-teach with a regular ed teacher, and then I also share
So like I have like a little
with another
passage
STEM
like about
teacher.
this
So I really can't do
for
anything.
myself. So maybe I
The
can
only
like,
thing I can do is I've done
I don't know, make it less wide.
in my room that I share with another teacher. I am more or less, I can color on the walls, but not too much because I have my side and then he has his side. Okay. And then my other class that I co-teach, the other teacher, that's her class. Yeah. I just come in and help the kids. And she got grades, but I make move stuff around. So that gives me a little bit of,
Yeah, no, that's when it kind of starts to like, I guess get bad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know. That's crazy.
I get it.
Last year I didn't.
Yeah, I do that too. Like I'll walk around and like stand by.
Yeah. I had a closet and I was teaching in the closet and then I just went to the room. And that's it, yeah. So yeah, so even though I was teaching math, I had it as a room was decorated in history.
I'm in a fifth one.
I know.
Oh, there we go.
All right, so I'm curious if you kept hearing one thing repeated. What was it?
Proximity.
Proximity. What? Procedures. We're really getting into procedures. Oh no, the third class will be a lot of that stuff. Anything else? Procedures and proximity. Colors. How they make a difference.
Classroom layout.
Classroom layout. Wait, I didn't hear him say this, but it's an interior loop. It's kind of like you can crawl, walk through and kind of make your way. The other thing I want to say is like, if your school doesn't have a policy for backpacks and where they go, or purses, or backpacks, I said that, jackets.
Jackets are coming.
So, I had a teacher, we shared like a partition wall, so you can hear everything, right? And I hear her talking, and then I hear, whoa! And then nothing. So I walk over there, and one of her kids had a skateboard. And, I mean, I laughed at her because she was fine, but it was in between the things, and she stepped on it. And went butt over tea kettle. And, and I can't tell you how many times I've walked through there and had a backpack strap get stuck on my foot and almost hit it in front of everybody. So, I mean, that's also part of your interior loop, is making sure you can actually walk that interior loop. And like Steve said, move constantly. And I know there's a tendency for us to avoid the kid who is sassy and might be able to say something to us that's rude. And so we tend to avoid them, whereas you need to consciously make an effort to not avoid them. Maybe camp over there for a little while. Anything else? Okay, the homework is a couple articles and a video. I would like you to read the articles, watch the video, and then in a short paragraph or two, whatever inspires you, tell us some stuff you learned from that.
And these are all in Google Classroom, right?
Sorry?
These are in Google Classroom.
They are all there.
And then when are these due?
Huh?
When are these?
Sunday night at midnight.
Sunday night, midnight.
We want you to do it before you come back to class next week.
The reason being, not that we're trying to punish you, it follows with what we're doing. So, yeah.
Will we always meet on Monday nights?
No, there's been some Tuesdays. Like
We
next
try
week?
not to meet on, well, yeah, by and large it'll be on the night. So there might be an exception because of like Washington birthday or something, but.
Is the schedule posted?
No, it isn't. We'll get that to you next week.
Yeah.
My admin assistant is out, and she was gonna do that, and then.
I thought you did.
I thought I saw
I
something,
think it's-
and then when I
I
went
got
on
an
there,
email.
I didn't.
It has the dates listed oddly. It's like slash through, so it looks like a whole bunch of numbers, but it's like.
We'll get it up. We'll get it in the class.
Side by side.
We'll even have a handout for you next month.
And just so you know, the PowerPoint, the slides that we use, and the video, all of that will also be on Classroom. So if you know, you leave here tonight and you can't remember anything, you can always revisit it. Any questions? Oh, the review. I'll move.
Could you do that for us before you leave? And then once you're done, we'll see you. Wait a minute, where's my special person? You have to leave first, huh? We're gonna let her leave first because, like one of those Jenga games on that you can get downloaded for free, if she doesn't move her card first, nobody's moving.